Star Wars Rebels has returned with the Season 4 premiere, Heroes of Mandalore Parts 1 and 2. I was lucky enough to see Part 1 at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year, and I've already talked about it, but don't worry, I'll be talking about it again today. Hopefully this video will be coherent, because I just spent like 12 hours on a plane today, and then we landed, got home, watched the episodes, and now I'm doing the review. So if I start to sound like complete gibberish, I apologize. The story opens on Mandalore as the rebels and some of Clan Wren attack an Imperial outpost where Sabine's father is supposedly being held. It's an exciting scene, but it's also intercut with Ezra being a goofball, and it's just kind of unnecessary. We have Mandalorians flying around and fighting with jetpacks. That's plenty entertaining without the comic relief. The attack begins to falter, but the rebels are aided by the return of Bo-Katan. I find it a little odd that she looks almost exactly like she did in the Clone Wars. It's been almost 20 years. It would have been cool to see some heavy battle scars, but that's a pretty minor gripe. Finn Rao explains that she was made Regent of Mandalore by the Jedi, which probably happened after the Siege of Mandalore arc we would have seen in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Rex, and a good bit of the 501st teamed up to kick Maul and what was left of Death Watch off the planet. You can read about it a little bit in the Ahsoka book. When she arrives at the outpost, she says the whole attack was a trap set up by Tiber Saxon. He's the brother of Gar Saxon, who was killed last season in the episode Legacy of Mandalore. He's attempting to move Sabine's father to the capital of Sundari, so our heroes have to ambush that convoy in the second action sequence, which is very Indiana Jones-esque, which means I loved it. It's basically a combination of the truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark and the tank chase in The Last Crusade. Their rescue is successful, and so we meet Ulrich Wren. Of course he's an art buff. Sabine says he fights with his art, so maybe he's a propaganda artist of some sort. The first part ends by introducing us to the weapon Sabine created. We've been hearing about this thing for a while, and in its first scene it appears to kill her mother and brother. That scene is very emotional, but it's immediately undercut by revealing that they survived. I like Rebels a lot, but I wish it would have the guts to kill off some more characters. I know it's a kids show, but having Sabine be somewhat responsible for the death of her family would have been a very powerful idea, even if it happened off screen. But back to the weapon itself, it's called the Duchess, and Tiber shows off a demonstration of its power to Thrawn via hologram. What I want to know is how did they get so many different, fantastic shots of that thing? One wide shot would have been perfectly fine, but then some very dedicated cameramen got really dangerously close. Or maybe the ability to enhance and sharpen footage is just way better in the Star Wars galaxy. Basically, the Duchess is a core of some sort mounted onto a walker that specifically targets the Beskar alloy in Mandalorian armor. Beskar is a term from Legends where it was more commonly referred to as Mandalorian iron. The metal is superheated until it vaporizes the wearer, which is pretty grim. Sabine's story of how she created the weapon and then tried to sabotage it is very reminiscent of Galen Erso and the Death Star. Speaking of Mandalorian armor, we get a little more information about their culture. Mandalorians consider their armor to be a part of their identities. Armor and its history is passed down from generation to generation. Sabine claims her own armor is 500 years old. The climax of the two episodes is an attack to destroy the Duchess, but first Sabine recalibrates it to target Stormtrooper armor instead. She turns it on a Star Destroyer full of Imperials for a minute until Bo-Katan convinces her it's not the Mandalorian way. So instead they sabotage the core, which causes it to explode, which kills every single one of those Imperials anyway. I don't really see how that's any more honorable, but okay. In the end, Sabine gives the Darksaber up to Bo-Katan and she becomes Mandalore's leader. That's not at all a surprise. I mean, she's the sister of the former ruler of the planet, so she has a blood claim, and she's well respected as a warrior. I've been saying this would happen since last September when we learned Katie Sackhoff was reprising the role. Not to mention the Season 4 trailer all but confirmed it. Although it's kind of a bummer to think about how she now wields the weapon that was used to kill her sister. Come to think of it, Sabine even used the Darksaber to destroy the weapon known as the Duchess. All in all, these were fine episodes, but they were nowhere near as good as the premieres for seasons 2 or 3. But that doesn't really concern me. Since this is the final season, we will be wrapping up a lot of loose ends. We've now seen a satisfying conclusion to the Mandalore stuff, although I suspect we'll see its influence in later episodes. As we continue through Season 4, I expect the loose ends that we spend time on will become more and more significant. My biggest concern right now is that Rebels continues to shy away from death when I think it's something that will be absolutely necessary for this show to have a satisfying end. But that said, I'm looking forward to having another 2-part story next Monday, and even if I didn't think Heroes of Mandalore was perfect, it's good to have the Ghost crew back. If you want to keep up with my ongoing coverage of Star Wars Rebels as well as other daily Star Wars videos, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.